So this is my presentation for the post-apocalyptic Last of Us scene that I worked on. So this scene was um, kind of tough in terms of getting the composition right, the lighting, all of that. There was so many assets in play, and to put all of this together took a while. I ran into a lot of issues with materials being wrong. For some reason, Quixel Bridge, when I imported materials, they turned out to be more metallic and everything was broken. I had to go in and like figure out why everything doesn't look the way I want it to. So one thing I usually do is I go to overview bar for visualization, and inside I check to make sure specular values are right. Usually you want specular to all be gray because um that's kind of how the light's being reflected. You don't want it to be like this, but there was issues with these materials, so I kind of left specular to be this value. If I reduced it, they were turning too white because they were reflecting too much light and stuff like that. Over here I try to fix roughness of a lot of things. And yeah, the main problem I had was many of these materials had their metallic broken and they were gray. Metallic is always 0 1. There's no in between, so I just had to turn off metallic for everything. um I had issues with subsurface scattering with some of these grass things. They were all becoming white. It was a lot that I had to look into. um if I play this scene, it kind of, this is what I have so far. Um, and the main thing was the composition of how I wanted this scene. I wanted it to kind of focus on the center area, so I needed something to be there. So I put these two deers in, and I made the pathway kind of curve and bend towards that. This material, I modified the current material that was already there by using some different materials from Quixel Bridge and adding my adding some different materials, changing all these values and colors, understanding what each of these kind of do was like, since the material is so complicated, so I had to look into all of this stuff over here, figure out how it works, all of that. And I vertex painted everything on, as you can see. We have like puddles with reflections. um we have some dust particles floating around over here. This is another scene where I vertex painted a car to look like it's rusted. um so I made my own material for the car called M Paintable. In this material I kind of just put together the car, the textures for the car, as well as some textures for a moss type of material, and I turned that moss brown so it looks like rust, and then I painted it on. um and over here you can see god rays, and that is very bright, but that's how the god rays, I didn't use a cylinder for god rays. I'm thinking of, I ended up getting it using the, let's go all the way directional light. So in directional light, I ended up just using a light shaft occlusion and a bloom to get the type of god rays that I wanted. It goes away depending on the camera. So over here, there is no god rays, but if you look at this one, you get those god rays. They look pretty good. And these god rays are kind of changing um, based on the volumetric cloud that I've added. So if I turn, can I turn it off? Okay, so I can't really look at it, but over here, these are all the volumetric clouds that I've added into the scene, right here. So there's this volumetric cloud function, and I watched a tutorial online on how to get it done. So I implemented that volumetric cloud, and you can change multiple values in this volumetric cloud to kind of change how fast it is, how thick it is, etc., etc. This was really cool and helpful. Um, Another thing, I do have exponential height fog, but it's not really that much. It's, I think, set to very low. It was only there so we kind of get a more foggy kind of look. Like over in the background, you can see there's fog. That's because of the exponential height fog. Um, Another thing was all this foliage that I had. Um, I ended up making it so that there's static. Well, let me see. Where's the grass? Searching for the grass. Yeah. So pretty sure, yeah, this one. So what I did is I forced volumetric for the light map type, so it gives you that stationary look, but it's actually static, and it saves us FPS rates. Even though this is not really a game being played, but in an actual game, it's the same thing I would do. Um, let's go to select, escape. So yeah, this is kind of the scene that I put together. It took way more time than I anticipated, but I think it looks pretty cool. Another thing I did was in post process settings, I let's search for post process. Um, Went into global and I changed the saturation and the contrast to pop more of the orange colors out, the warmer tones out in the environment. And image effects, I did give a grain jitter because I know Last of Us has that grain jitter happening, so I kind of did that. Um, and I reduced this intensity because it was like 0.4. I made it 0.1. I've changed the exposure and I've given like 0.1 chromatic aberration. There's no dirt map, but and yeah, I've made the bloom at 0. So this is kind of what I had to do